So you're thinking of buying your first property or selling your first property, and you need to pick a real estate agent. Well, in today's video, I'm gonna try and go over what I would be looking for if I was hiring a real estate agent. What makes an agent good? What makes an agent bad? What would be a red flag? What kind of questions would I ask an agent, or how would I evaluate in making my decision in terms of making sure I get the right agent for me and my particular situation? If you guys don't know me, my name is Jankowitz. I'm a real estate agent based in Cambridge and Somerville, Massachusetts. I've closed over 300 transactions in the last 3 years. As I go through these videos, people always have questions. If you have a question, there's a Calendly link in the description below, so click that. I'm happy to do a quick 15-minute call, answer any real estate questions you might have. Otherwise, please hit that subscribe and bell button. It really helps me and motivates me. I'll be putting out a lot of content this year, and when I see people subscribing, it makes me feel good and makes me want to put together more content that's hopefully helping everyone. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So the first thing that I would think about when I'm thinking about hiring a real estate agent is, how do they treat you? And what do I mean by this? I have met a lot of realtors, and I've also spoken to a lot of clients who've told me horror stories of agents who will treat them like a dollar sign, like a commission, where really all they're interested in is getting a quick commission. And it comes across, they're pushy, they're trying to pressure you into buying a house that you're on the fence, and they're really kind of just trying to move things along, and they're very concerned about their time, but they're not so concerned about you and your interests, which really is not the job of a realtor. A good realtor should be working on your timeline. And what I've learned over the years is that everyone is on a different timeline. Some people can make decisions relatively quickly in a couple months. Other clients of mine need many, many years. And I think the right approach is to take as much time as you need to feel good about this purchase. And if it's a sale, maybe preparing your home, as much time as you need to prepare and making sure the timing is right for you and your individual circumstances. So I think the first thing is, how do they treat you? Do they treat you as a person? Do they respect your time and really try and work with you and meet you where you are? Or are they trying to shove you along and they don't really see you for who you are? Now, that might sound obvious, but I run into this a lot. The second thing, what is their niche? And, some realtors will say, oh, I buy and sell everywhere and I work on everything. And in my experience, some agents do have a very large scope of business, and occasionally they can be quite good at it. But generally speaking, agents are good within a particular geographical area and a particular type of house. So if a client reaches out to me and they're looking to buy land, well, that isn't my specialty, and I'll either refer them or occasionally I'll try and work with them, but they understand that's not really what I do. So you really want to work with someone who is an expert in your area and the type of homes you are working on. A lot of agents will say they are, but at the end of the day, you got to use your best judgment here. As you kind of start going through properties with them, it should be pretty apparent. Can they talk intelligently? When you ask them questions, are they able to answer most of them? No agent's going to know everything, but you should be able to get a pretty good gut feel as you're going through the property if they're familiar with your town. If someone is out in Western Massachusetts and you really know them, but you're looking to buy in Somerville, it probably doesn't make sense to work with them. I mean, most agents won't go out that far, but occasionally they will. But they probably won't know the area as well as someone who's living and breathing Cambridge and Somerville all the time. So that's something to be aware of as well. Next one, promptness and availability. And this is a really big one, and it's something that kind of grinds my gears a little bit, which is, how available is that agent? I know that most of the top agents, one thing they all tend to have in common is they are prompt and they're on top of things. And I try to treat my clients the same way. I try and get back to them as quickly as possible. If I'm not in a meeting, I try to respond right away. If I am, right when I get out of that meeting, I try and respond to every single client as quickly as possible. When I have an offer, I try to respond to that agent and let them know, and get in touch with my seller client right away and let them know. If I find a property, I try and get into the property as quickly as possible. Real estate is a time of the essence business. You don't want to be working with someone who you can't even get a hold of, or it takes 2 to 3 days to get a response to a simple question, or you have to write an offer at night and they're not available. You just don't want that. Now, on the flip side, you have to be a little reasonable here. Agents are working 24/7, 365. I know I certainly am. I don't really get vacations, very rarely. So if I do have a vacation, I usually have someone cover. I still make myself available for calls all the time, but there might be a little bit of delays. So try and be reasonable. I'm not saying to be totally disrespectful of the agent's time and reach out at midnight, but in general, an agent should be available in the morning and late at night, and when you need them, you should be able to have a back and forth conversation. If they're really slow in getting back to you, ultimately that will harm your chances in getting in front of properties quickly, which will hurt your chances of winning out on the properties you want. And on the sell side, it ultimately means less buyers are going to see your property because they're probably not that responsive as they should be to buyers and buyers agents and getting them into your property. Less buyers come in, less offers come in, your sales price goes down. It's really critical that you have someone who is on the ball. And again, this is a judgment thing. You should pick up within a couple weeks. Is this person sharp or not? Honestly, for me, I usually can pick up on this kind of thing within a couple days or maybe even a couple hours, honestly. But that's a really big one. The next one, real estate and working with an agent. There's certain barriers that I believe every agent should cross where a client would be okay to work with them. I think a lot of agents don't pass those sort of tests, but if you get past those different levels that we just talked about, there's another piece, which there is a personal piece. There are multiple really good agents in particular areas. I work with a lot of them every day. They're super professional, they're super knowledgeable. And then at some point, there is also the piece of, do you connect with this person? There are a lot of people who are very competent, strategic, and smart in this business that I had the pleasure of working with and on transactions. But at the end of the day, you have to find someone who you jibe with. I have my own vibe and personality. Some people like it, some people don't like it. They might be looking for something else. I'm not super type A, I would say. I know agents who are super type A. If you're a type A person, maybe you prefer someone like that. I don't take it personally, but you need to find someone that you really connect with. You feel like you connect with their philosophy and the way they do things, and they're just kind of energy. I think that's important because it is a very intimate thing. They're going to get to know you. You're going to get to know them. You're going to go on a journey for multiple months. Most of my clients I like to keep in touch with. I like to provide value afterwards. So you want to make sure that you kind of on the same wavelength. And that might seem like a little I don't know, a little rah-rah, but really it's something that can make a difference and make the process more enjoyable. And hopefully if you connect with them, a good agent will help kind of keep you sane because it can be a bit of a roller coaster ride. And this brings me to my final point. I think a good question to ask a realtor is kind of what is their philosophy when it comes to real estate? How do they see themselves in the transaction, whether selling or buying, and sort of how do they look at the whole process and how they and you relate to all of it? And that might sound like a little bit silly, but hear me out here. From my perspective, there's two things that I'm really trying to do in each transaction. The first is I believe real estate for most people will be their biggest financial transaction. So even if this is your primary residence, you must look at the property through an investment lens. And I always try and look at a property through an investment lens because I believe that clients need to understand that to ensure that they're buying right, they're not putting themselves in a bad situation. And if they're selling, they're positioning the property to maximize resale value. That's something that's very important to me in a way that I approach every single deal. Every agent's a little different. And again, you need to find what jibes with you, but that's the first thing for me that's really important. And the second part that is really important to me is I live and breathe this stuff. I literally do this 24/7, 365. Every day I look at properties in the morning. Every day I look at properties at night. Every day I'm going into houses. I'm writing offers. I'm selling homes. I'm renting homes. I do it all the time. And I love what I do. And so just through the reps of doing it over and over and over and over again, I have a lot in my brain, and the way I look at it is I need to transmit that to you and take all those reps in a particular situation for a particular property and pass that information over to you so that you're well equipped and ready to make an informed decision. And that's how I try and really look at real estate on a client-to-client basis. And I think when I do that, Every person is different. Every person has different risk tolerance, different needs. But if I can transmit that information, that person can feel very confident that they're making the right decision because they have a 360-degree view of the landscape in front of them. And then they have their own personal situation, their life situation, their financial situation, and they can connect the dots to figure out what makes sense to them. So anyways, I hope this was helpful. If you like this information, please hit the subscribe button below. If you have questions, hit that Calendly link. Let's do a free 15-minute call, and I look forward to talking next time. See you guys.